Princess Nara stood at the observation deck, her slender fingers pressed against the cold glass as she watched her home world burn. The great crystal towers of the capital city, structures that had stood for 10,000 years, crumbled like sandcastles under the relentless assault of the Void Armada. Their black ships, moving like oil across the stars, seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. "Your Highness, we must leave now." Commander June's voice was steady, but his eyes betrayed his fear. "The jump engines are charged. We cannot delay any longer." Nara couldn't tear her gaze away from the destruction. The Celestial Dominion had ruled peacefully for 50 generations. Their technology was thought to be unmatched in the known galaxy. How could they fall so quickly? "My father," she whispered. "Emperor Tay ordered us to ensure your safety above all else," June said, placing a respectful hand on her shoulder. "He knew what was coming. That's why he entrusted you with the archive." The archive, a small crystal cube that contained the collective knowledge, history, and genetic records of their entire civilization. It hung heavily around her neck, glowing with a faint blue light against her silver royal garments. "We believed ourselves to be immortal," Nara said bitterly. "We thought our shields impenetrable, our weapons unstoppable." The ship shuddered as a distant explosion sent a shockwave through space. On the planet's surface, the royal palace, her home, disappeared in a flash of terrible light. "Father!" Nara cried out, knowing it was too late. Emperor Tai had chosen to remain with his people, to fight until the end. "Princess, please," June urged more desperately now. "The enemy has detected us. We have perhaps minutes before they cut off our escape route." With a final, painful look at her dying world, Nara turned away. The royal vessel, sleek and built for speed rather than combat, hummed with energy as the crew prepared for the jump to safety. "Where will we go?" she asked, following June to the command center. "The outer colonies?" The commander's silence told her everything. "They're gone too, aren't they?" Nara's voice was hollow. "The Void Armada attacked everywhere simultaneously," he confirmed. "Reports came in from across the Dominion before communications went dark. They knew exactly where to strike." The command center buzzed with the last remnants of the Royal Guard. Just 12 soldiers who had been assigned to the princess's protection. Their faces were grim as they worked the ship's controls. "Captain Min reports jump readiness. Your Highness," a young officer named Han announced, "awaiting your command." Nara took a deep breath. She was no longer just a princess. With her father gone, the burden of their entire civilization now rested on her shoulders. "The archive contains everything we were," she said, straightening her posture as she'd been taught since childhood. "As long as it survives, so does the Celestial Dominion. We will find a way to rebuild." On the main view screen, enemy ships began to appear, black against the stars, moving with unnatural precision. "They've found us," June said urgently. Nara nodded. "Execute the jump." The stars stretched into lines of light as the ship tore through the fabric of space. Nara closed her eyes. The image of her burning homeworld seared into her memory. When she opened them again, they were in empty space, far from the devastation. But the hollow feeling in her chest remained. "Status report," she commanded, trying to sound confident. "Jump successful, Your Highness," Captain Min replied. "We've reached the Outer Rim territories, no signs of pursuit yet." "Set course for the emergency rendezvous point," Nara ordered. "Any survivors would head there." Hope was a dangerous thing, but she clung to it nonetheless. Surely other ships had escaped. Surely she wasn't truly alone. Days passed with no contact from any Dominion vessels. The rendezvous point, a remote space station in neutral territory, was abandoned when they arrived. No messages, no distress signals, nothing but silence across all communication channels. One evening, as Nara sat alone in her quarters reviewing star charts, June brought her a small holographic projector. "We've compiled confirmed reports of Dominion outposts and colonies," he said quietly. "All gone, Princess. The attack was complete." The hologram showed their territory, once spanning thousands of star systems, now marked entirely in red. Destroyed, conquered. "How many survivors?" she asked, dreading the answer. "Unknown. But based on attack patterns and timing, very few." June hesitated. "We may be the last ship, Your Highness." Nara touched the archive hanging around her neck. The weight of it seemed to increase with each passing moment. "Then we will be the seeds of our rebirth," she said, though her voice trembled. "Somewhere in this galaxy, we will find a place to start again." But as their ship drifted through the emptiness of space, with dwindling supplies and no allies in sight, even Nara's determination began to waver. The Void Armada was hunting for survivors. It was only a matter of time before they were found. For the first time since leaving her dying world, Princess Nara allowed herself to cry, alone in her quarters, with no one to witness the tears of perhaps the last royal of the once mighty Celestial Dominion. 3 months had passed since the fall of the Celestial Dominion. The royal vessel, once gleaming with silver and blue energy markings, now drifted through the darkness of uncharted space, its hull scarred and patched from too many close encounters. Princess Nara sat in what had once been the grand meeting chamber, now converted to a makeshift command center. Star maps and damaged equipment cluttered the tables where diplomats had once gathered. "Another jump completed," Commander June reported, his uniform faded and worn. Dark circles shadowed his eyes from too many sleepless nights. "Engine cooling systems are at critical levels. We need at least 10 hours before we can jump again." Nara nodded. Her once elaborate royal garments had been replaced by practical combat gear, though she still wore the archive around her neck. "And our location. The Outer Rim territories, an abandoned mining sector, should be deserted." June hesitated. "But our sensor range is limited after the last attack." The last attack? 3 weeks ago. They'd thought they'd found safety near an old trading outpost, only to be ambushed by Void scout ships. They'd escaped, but the cost had been high. Captain Min hadn't made it. Neither had 5 others of her royal guard. Now only June and 2 others, Officer Han and Engineer Su, remained of her once proud escort. 4 survivors from a civilization of trillions. "Princess, you should rest," June said gently. "You've been monitoring communications for 18 hours straight." Nara rubbed her tired eyes. "Someone needs to listen for distress signals. There must be other survivors out there." But they both knew the likelihood was slim. Over the months, they'd picked up fragments of transmissions, desperate calls for help that always went silent mid-message. Each time they'd arrive too late, finding only debris and the lingering energy signature of Void weapons. "I'll take the next shift," June offered. "Han has prepared a meal with our rations. It's not royal cuisine, but the alarm cut him off, a shrill, pulsing sound that made them both freeze. "Proximity alert," June said, rushing to the sensor display. His face went pale. "Void signatures. Multiple vessels approaching from Sector 7. Nara was instantly alert. "How many? How did they find us so quickly?" "I don't know how they tracked us through the jump." June's fingers flew across the control panel. "Count is 12 ships. No, wait." He looked up, horror in his eyes. "It's a full hunting pack. 26 vessels, including a command carrier." Nara's heart sank. They had barely escaped from 2 scout ships last time. Against a fleet this size in their damaged vessel. "Time to intercept?" she asked, keeping her voice steady. 30 minutes at current speed. Our engines won't be ready. For another jump for at least 8 hours. Officer Han and Engineer Su rushed into the command center, alerted by the alarm. "Battle stations," Nara ordered. "Su, can you give us anything more from the engines? Any weapon systems still operational?" Su shook her head, her hands stained with engine oil. "Main weapons are fried from the last firefight. We have 2 point defense. Turrets working at maybe 60% capacity. As for the engines," she hesitated, "I might be able to force one more jump, but the core stabilizers are failing. We'd be jumping blind, and the ship might not survive the stress." Silence fell over the small group as the reality of their situation sank in. "What are your orders, Your Highness?" June asked quietly. Nara closed her eyes for a moment. She had been running for so long, watching her people die one by one. Perhaps it was time to make a stand, however hopeless. "Prepare the ship's recorder," she said finally. "I need to send a message." While Han and Su worked frantically to extract whatever performance remained in their battered ship, Nara sat before the communication array. June stood respectfully to the side as she activated the recorder. "This is Princess Nara of the Celestial Dominion," she began, her voice clear and unwavering despite the fear in her heart. To any who receive this message, heed my warning. The force known as the Void Armada has destroyed our civilization and many others. They cannot be reasoned with. They consume all in their path. She touched the archive hanging from her neck. I carry with me the complete records and genetic heritage of my people. If you find this message and the archive, protect it. Somewhere in this galaxy, the celestial dominion must live again. Nara paused, emotion threatening to break through her royal composure. Should anyone survive to hear these words, know that we fought until the end. Know that we— Princess, Han called urgently from the sensor station. Multiple new signatures detected. June rushed to look. Void reinforcements? No, Han said, confusion in his voice. Different energy pattern. I've never seen anything like it. Nara ended the recording and moved to the view screen. Show me. The screen flickered to life, showing the approaching Void fleet. Black ships moving like a plague across the stars. But now from the opposite direction, new vessels were appearing. Smaller, sleeker ships with strange designs that Nara didn't recognize from any known spacefaring race. Who are they? She wondered aloud. Unknown, June replied. But they're on an intercept course with the Void fleet, not us. The ship shuddered violently, throwing them against the walls. Engine failure, Sue's voice came through the comm system. The cooling system just collapsed completely. As sirens blared throughout the vessel, Nara pulled herself back to her feet and looked at the three faces that remained of her once mighty civilization. Each was tired, scarred, but still determined to follow her to the end. It seems our last stand has come, she said softly. We will face it with the dignity of the Dominion. She straightened her posture, touched the archive one last time, and added, It has been my honor to serve with you all. June bowed deeply. The honor was ours, Your Highness. As the Void fleet drew closer, Nara found strange comfort in the knowledge that at least they wouldn't die alone. Whoever these mysterious newcomers were, they too would soon face the unstoppable darkness that had consumed her world. The princess took one last look at the stars through the view screen. In another life, they had belonged to her people. Now they would be her tomb. But even as she prepared for the end, a transmission alert flashed across their communication system, coming from the unknown fleet. The emergency lights bathed the command center in a dull red glow as Princess Nara and her three remaining crew members watched the approaching doom on their view screens. The Void fleet's formation was unmistakable, a hunting pattern designed to trap and destroy with no possibility of escape. Life support is failing, Engineer Sue reported, her voice strained but calm. We have maybe 2 hours before oxygen recyclers shut down completely. Officer Han looked up from his console. The unknown vessels are accelerating. They'll intercept the Void fleet before it reaches us. Suicide, Commander June muttered. Those ships are tiny compared to Void destroyers. Nara leaned forward, studying the strange vessels more carefully. Their design was unlike anything in the Dominion archives, sleek, angular crafts with propulsion systems she couldn't recognize. They moved with a fluidity that seemed impossible, changing direction, with no apparent thrust vectors. What are they doing? She wondered aloud. As they watched, the unknown fleet split into 3 groups with practiced precision. While the Void ships maintained their rigid formation, these newcomers flowed like water around them. They're toying with them, June said, with disbelief. Look how they're drawing the Void forces apart. The view screen showed the first clash, a Void destroyer firing its main weapon, a beam of darkness that consumed light itself. But the target ship simply wasn't there when the beam arrived, having moved with impossible speed. How are they predicting the attack patterns? Han asked, awe in his voice. Even our best tactical AIs couldn't anticipate Void movements that accurately. The answer came moments later as their damaged communication system crackled to life. Royal. Vessel of the Celestial Dominion. This is Admiral Kim of Earth's Ghost Fleet. The voice was clear, confident, speaking the universal trade language with an unfamiliar accent. We've been tracking your distress beacon. Hold position and prepare for escort. We'll clear a path. Nara and June exchanged shocked glances. Earth? Nara whispered. Humans? June quickly accessed what remained of their database. According to Dominion records, Humans are a primitive species, confined to a single star system in the Western Spiral Arm. Pre-FTL civilization, technically capable but isolated. Those ships don't look primitive to me, Sue commented dryly. On the screen, the battle unfolded like a dance. The Void ships, previously unstoppable in their encounters with Dominion forces, seemed clumsy and predictable against these human vessels. When 3 Void destroyers converged to trap a human ship, it simply vanished, reappearing behind them to deliver precise strikes against their engine sections. Some kind of short-range teleportation technology, Han murmured. Impossible. The comm system activated again. Princess Nara, we're aware your ship is critically damaged. We're dispatching a rescue team to dock with your vessel. Please prepare for emergency evacuation. Nara hesitated, her hand touching the archive at her neck. These humans had appeared from nowhere, wielding technology that shouldn't exist. Could they be trusted? Your Highness, June said quietly. We have no other options. Taking a deep breath, Nara activated the communication link. This is Princess Nara. We accept your assistance, Admiral Kim. But I must know, how do you know who I am? How did you find us? A slight pause, then. We intercepted your warning message, Princess. We've been tracking Void fleet movements for quite some time. As for how we found you specifically, we'll explain everything once you're safely aboard. Time is critical. The Void command carrier has called for reinforcements, true to the admirals. Words a smaller vessel broke away from the human fleet, accelerating toward their position while the others continued engaging the Void ships. Docking procedures initiated, Han announced as their ship's systems recognized the approaching vessel. Their technology is compatible with our docking mechanisms. That shouldn't be possible. Nothing about this makes sense, Sue agreed, gathering. What critical equipment she could salvage. Through the viewport, Nara watched as the human ship, matte black with subtle blue lighting along its hull, extended a docking tube toward their airlock. Despite the chaos of battle around them, the procedure was executed with perfect precision. Docking complete, Han reported. Atmosphere stable in the connection tube. Gather only what we absolutely need, Nara ordered. The archive takes priority, above all else. As they prepared to abandon their vessel, the last ship of the once mighty Dominion fleet, a strange calm settled over Nara. After months of running, of watching her people die one by one, perhaps this unexpected turn offered something she had nearly forgotten: hope. The airlock hissed open to reveal 2 figures in sleek combat suits. Their helmets obscured their faces, but their body language was alert, professional. Princess Nara, one of them said, voice slightly muffled by the helmet. I'm Captain Jin. This is Lieutenant Yuna. We're here to escort you to safety. The captain held out a hand in what appeared to be a gesture of respect. Nara stepped forward, royal dignity intact despite her exhaustion. My crew comes with me. Of course, Captain Jin nodded. But we must hurry. Our diversionary tactics won't hold the Void fleet for long. As they moved through the docking tube, Nara caught glimpses of the battle through viewport slits. The human vessels moved like nothing she had ever seen, their weapons leaving strange blue afterimages as they struck Void ships with unprecedented effectiveness. The human vessel's interior was surprisingly spacious, its design elegant yet functional. The walls hummed with energy that Nara couldn't identify. Secure for emergency jump, Lieutenant Yuna announced as they entered what appeared to be a passenger hold. All personnel, brace for transition. Jump? June questioned. But we're in the middle of a battle formation. The calculation complexity would be different technology, different rules, Captain Jin replied simply, securing Nara and her crew into specialized seats. Admiral Kim is waiting to brief you once we reach the fleet. The ship hummed, a sound unlike the strained roar of Dominion jump drives. There was no violent acceleration, no feeling of being stretched across space, just a brief moment where colors seemed to invert, and then stability returned. Transition complete, announced a calm voice over the ship's communication system. Welcome to safe harbor, Princess Nara. When the viewscreen activated, Nara gasped. They were no longer in the empty sector where they'd been trapped. Instead, they floated in orbit around a massive asteroid field. that had been hollowed out and converted into what appeared to be a sprawling space station. Dozens, no hundreds of ships, similar to the one they were on, moved in precise patterns around the hidden base. "How is this possible?" she whispered. The Dominion had no records of human space technology beyond primitive chemical rockets. "Captain." Jin removed his helmet, revealing surprisingly normal features. Not so different from Nara's own people, though his eyes had a different shape and his skin a warmer tone. "That," he said with a slight smile, "was entirely by design, Your Highness. Admiral Kim will explain everything." As their ship approached the hidden base, Nara felt something she had not experienced since watching her homeworld burn. Genuine curiosity about what tomorrow might bring. The docking bay was enormous, stretching farther than Nara could see. Ships of various sizes moved with quiet efficiency, guided by ground crews using light signals. What struck her most wasn't the technology, impressive as it was, but how everything seemed designed to remain undetectable. No unnecessary emissions, no bright lights, nothing that would stand out against the background of space. "This way, Your Highness," Captain Jin said, leading Nara and her small crew along a pathway marked with subtle blue lighting. Commander Jun stayed close to her side, his hand never straying far from his sidearm despite their apparent rescue. "How many ships do you have here?" Engineer Sue asked, her professional curiosity overcoming her caution as she gazed at the fleet around them. "This is just one of several staging areas," Lieutenant Yuna replied. "The Ghost Fleet operates from multiple hidden bases throughout the galaxy." "Ghost Fleet," June repeated, "an appropriate name for something that officially doesn't exist." They entered a lift that carried them deep into the asteroid base. When the doors opened, they stepped into a command center buzzing with activity. Dozens of humans worked at stations monitoring fleet movements, communications, and what appeared to be real-time tracking of void ship positions across multiple sectors. At the center stood a woman in a simple dark uniform with minimal insignia. Her hair was pulled back in a practical style, her posture straight but not rigid. Despite her lack of decorative markers of rank, everyone in the room moved with clear deference to her presence. "Princess Nara," she said, stepping forward. "I'm Admiral Kim. Welcome to Shadow Point Base." Nara met the Admiral's gaze directly. "I appreciate your timely intervention, Admiral, but I have many questions. I imagine you do." Admiral Kim gestured toward a side room. "Please join me. Your crew is welcome as well." The meeting room was comfortable but practical, with a large table displaying a holographic map of the galaxy. Certain sectors were highlighted, many corresponding to former Dominion territory, now marked in red. After they were seated, Admiral Kim pressed a control, and the door sealed with a soft hiss. "For privacy," she explained. "What I'm about to share is known only to our highest levels of command. How does a primitive species, from a quarantine system, possess technology that can outmaneuver the Void Armada?" Nara asked directly. Admiral Kim smiled slightly. "We're not primitive, Princess. We never were. Humanity simply found it advantageous to be underestimated." She touched the control panel, and the holographic display changed to show Earth and its solar system. A protective barrier was indicated around the system's edge. 200 years ago, when the Dominion placed containment buoys around our system to protect developing species from harmful outside influence, we were already capable of limited, faster-than-light travel. Rather than announce this and risk conflict with a vastly larger empire, our leaders made a different choice. The display shifted, showing human ships carefully navigating past the containment field. We studied the Dominion technology in the buoys. We learned. We adapted. And most importantly, we prepared. "Prepared for what?" June asked. "For exactly what has happened," Admiral Kim said gravely. "The fall of the Celestial Dominion wasn't the first time the Void has appeared in this galaxy. They emerge every few thousand years, consume advanced civilizations, then retreat into whatever dark space they come from. There are records, ancient warnings if you know where to look." Nara felt a chill run through her. "And my people didn't see these warnings. The Dominion was powerful for so long that it grew complacent," Admiral Kim said, not unkindly. "When your ships occasionally crashed in our system, which we arranged more than once, We studied the technology while maintaining our appearance as a developing world. Your observers saw exactly what we wanted them to see. Officer Han leaned forward. That still doesn't explain how you developed technology that surpasses even the Dominion's best ships. We took a different approach to technological development, Admiral Kim explained. The Dominion focused on power, bigger engines, stronger weapons. Humanity focused on stealth, efficiency, and unpredictability. Our jump drives use less energy, but provide more precise positioning. Our weapons are calibrated specifically to target void ship vulnerabilities. You've been preparing for this war specifically, Nara realized. For how long? Generations. Admiral Kim's expression softened, slightly. But we didn't just build weapons, Princess Nara. We've been watching, and when we could, helping. She touched the controls again, and the display changed to show a planet with sprawling cities surrounded by lush forests. New Haven, Admiral, Kim said. One of several worlds where we've been relocating refugees from Dominion worlds, including your people. Nara stood abruptly, her heart pounding. My people? There are survivors? Thousands, Admiral Kim confirmed. When the Void attacks began, our deep reconnaissance ships were already in position. We couldn't save everyone. The attacks were too widespread, too sudden, but we extracted as many as we could. How did you decide who to save? Commander, June asked, his voice tight with emotion. We prioritized civilians, especially those with cultural knowledge, scientists, artists, people who carried the soul of your civilization. Admiral Kim looked directly at Nara. We had no way of knowing the royal family would be targeted first, or we would have attempted extraction. Nara sank back into her seat, overwhelmed. All these months, she had believed herself to be among the last of her kind, carrying the burden of an entire civilization's memory. To learn that thousands had survived. Why? She asked finally. Why would humans do this? The Dominion treated Earth as a curiosity at best, a primitive world to be contained and studied. We never offered your people anything. Admiral Kim was quiet for a moment. Because that's what humans do, Princess. We look out for each other, and eventually we decided that each other includes everyone in this galaxy. The Void doesn't discriminate in who it destroys. Neither should we in who we help. Engineer Sue, who had been quietly examining the technology in the room, looked up. These refugee worlds, they're hidden from the Void. As best we can manage, Admiral Kim nodded. We've developed cloaking technology that masks energy signatures. It's not perfect, but it's kept our primary systems hidden so far. A young officer entered the room after a quick knock. Admiral, the fleet has returned from the engagement. All ships accounted for, minimal damage. The Void hunting pack has retreated to Sector 9. Thank you, Lieutenant Park. After the officer left, Admiral Kim turned back to Nara. Princess, I understand this is a lot to process. You've been fighting for survival for months. You need rest, proper food, medical attention. Tomorrow, if you wish, we can arrange communication with your people on New Haven. Nara touched the archive still hanging around her neck. All this time I thought I carried the last hope of my civilization. To learn that we still have a future. Her voice broke slightly. Commander June, always formal, bowed deeply to Admiral Kim. The Dominion misjudged humanity, to our great regret. And to our salvation, it seems. We should get you all settled, Admiral Kim said, standing. Tomorrow we have much to discuss about the fight ahead. The Void believes they've nearly completed their conquest of Dominion space. They don't yet realize they've awakened a ghost fleet that's been preparing for this moment for generations. As they left the meeting room, Nara paused to look once more at the display showing New Haven, a world where her people lived on. For the first time since watching her homeworld burn, Princess Nara felt something bloom inside her chest that she had thought was lost forever. Not just hope, but purpose. Princess Nara stood before the holographic display in the war room, pointing at the swirling patterns that represented Void fleet movements. A month had passed since her rescue, a month of planning, preparation, and reunions that had brought her to this moment. The command vessel always maintains this formation, she explained to the gathered human officers and the handful of Dominion military personnel who had survived. Their hierarchy is absolute. Destroy the command ship, and the lesser vessels become disorganized for approximately 30 minutes before secondary command protocols activate. Admiral Kim nodded thoughtfully. That aligns with our observations. The question is how to get close enough to strike. Their defensive screen is formidable. I've been studying your jump drive technology, Engineer Sue said, stepping forward. She had adapted quickly to working with the human engineers, her Dominion training complementing their innovative approaches. If we recalibrate the dimensional alignment, we could potentially execute a precision jump directly behind their command vessel within their defensive perimeter. Captain Jin looked skeptical. That close to their gravity distortion field, the calculations would need to be perfect. They can be, Commander Jun said. He had spent the past weeks training alongside the human tactical officers, learning their unconventional battle strategies. If we combine Dominion navigational algorithms with your jump technology, we can achieve the precision required. Nara watched the exchange with quiet pride. A month ago, these people had been strangers, potential enemies even. Now they worked, together as if they had been allies for years. Her thoughts drifted to her visit to New Haven last week. Seeing thousands of her people alive, building new lives alongside human settlers, had brought her to tears. Children from both species played together in parks beneath artificial sunlight that mimicked their lost homeworld's glow. Elders taught Dominion history and art to mixed classes of students. They had lost so much, but they were surviving, adapting, just as humanity had always done. Princess, Admiral Kim's voice brought her back to the present. Your thoughts on the attack plan? Nara studied the tactical display once more. The plan is sound, but we need a diversion, something unexpected that will draw their attention. At the critical moment, the room fell silent as everyone considered the problem. What about the refugee ships? Lieutenant Yuna suggested. Several officers began to protest, but Yuna continued. Not actual refugees, decoy ships. If the Void detects what appears to be civilian vessels fleeing, their programming always prioritizes pursuit. They're compelled to leave no survivors. We could use automated ships, Officer Han added, catching on to the idea. Project life sign readings that would trigger their hunting protocols. Admiral Kim looked to Nara. It's your call, Princess. This operation targets the command ship that likely directed the destruction of your homeworld. Nara felt the weight of the archive around her neck. No longer just a burden of memory, but a promise for the future. We proceed with the attack, she said firmly. In 3 days, when their fleet reaches the nexus point. The bridge of the Ghost Fleet flagship hummed with tightly controlled energy as they prepared for the jump. Nara had insisted on joining the strike team, despite Admiral Kim's initial objections. This was her fight too. Decoy ships deployed, reported Lieutenant Park from the tactical station. Void Fleet is responding. Their formation is shifting to intercept. On the main view screen, tiny dots representing the automated refugee ships moved away from the hidden jump point. Larger shadows, Void Hunter ships, broke away from the protective ring around their massive command vessel, moving to pursue what they perceived as helpless prey. Jump calculations complete, Officer Han announced from the navigation console. He and 3 human officers had worked for days to perfect the complex mathematics required for this precision attack. Dimensional. Alignment stable. Nara exchanged glances with Commander Jun. They had both lost so much to reach this moment. Around them, the human crew worked with calm efficiency, their months of preparation evident in every precise movement. All ships prepare for jump, Admiral Kim ordered. Weapons hot on emergence. The fleet, 12 ghost ships and 3 retrofitted Dominion vessels, hovered at the edge of detection range waiting for the perfect moment. Void Hunter ships have committed to pursuit, Captain Jin reported. Command vessel defensive screen at minimum safe configuration. Admiral Kim looked to Nara. Princess? Nara nodded. Execute jump. The universe seemed to fold around them as the jump drives engaged. Unlike the violent transitions of Dominion technology, the human drives slipped between dimensional planes with elegant precision. For a heartbeat, reality itself seemed to hold its breath. Then they were there, Directly behind the massive Void command vessel, inside its defensive perimeter, weapons already firing before the enemy could register their presence. Direct hits on propulsion systems, Lieutenant Yuna called out. Their shields are fluctuating. The view screen showed their smaller ships darting around the massive command vessel, like insects attacking a much larger predator. But these insects had stingers designed specifically to penetrate Void armor. They're launching counterattacks. Commander June warned as smaller enemy vessels scrambled to respond. Defensive pattern Omega. The ghost ships moved in perfect coordination, evading energy beams that would have cut through Dominion shields like paper. Their smaller size and incredible maneuverability made them nearly impossible targets. Primary weapon charged, Captain, Jin announced, targeting their central control node. This was the moment everything had been building toward. The human scientists had developed a weapon that could disrupt the unique energy signature that bound Void ships together. Without it, the seemingly invincible armada would become just metal and strange matter, adrift in space. Fire, Nara and Admiral Kim ordered simultaneously. The beam that shot forth from the flagship didn't look impressive, just a slender thread of blue-white light that connected their ship to the heart of the Void command vessel for 3 seconds. Then the massive ship simply stopped. Its lights flickered and died. The strange darkness that always surrounded Void vessels dissipated like morning fog. Direct hit, Captain Jin confirmed, disbelief coloring his voice. Their central node is offline. Command functions have ceased. Around the crippled command ship, the remaining Void vessels began moving erratically, like insects whose hive mind had suddenly gone silent. All ships, target the secondary vessels, Admiral Kim ordered. Don't let them re-establish command protocols. The next 20 minutes were chaos as the combined human-Dominion fleet methodically destroyed the confused Void ships. Without central coordination, their fearsome weapons fired too late or missed entirely. Their perfect formations collapsed into disarray. When it was over, the battle space was littered with drifting debris, the remains of what had once been the most feared fighting force in the galaxy. In the sudden quiet of the flagship bridge, Nara found herself unable to speak. They had done it, struck the first meaningful blow against the force that had destroyed her world. Admiral Kim broke the silence. This was just one command group. There are others, but now we know it works. Now we have hope. 3 days later, Princess Nara stood on a platform overlooking a vast gathering hall on Shadowpoint Base. Below her, thousands of beings, humans and Dominion survivors alike, had gathered to hear her speak. The news of their victory had spread quickly through the hidden network of refugee worlds and Ghost Fleet bases. For generations, my people believed we stood alone as the guardians of civilization in this galaxy, she began, her voice carrying easily through the perfect acoustics of the hall. We looked at other species and saw only what we expected to see, lesser beings still finding their way among the stars. She glanced at Admiral Kim, who stood respectfully to the side. We were wrong, Nara continued. While the Celestial Dominion built ever bigger ships and weapons, humanity built something far more powerful, a community that values all life, that prepares not just to survive but to ensure others survive as well. The archive hung around her neck, catching the light as she moved. I once believed this archive was the last remnant of my civilization, that I alone carried the memory of my people. Her voice softened. Now I know that civilization isn't about grand palaces or mighty fleets. It's about how we treat each other. It's about reaching out a hand to those in need, even when they've never offered you the same courtesy. The hall was absolutely silent, every face turned toward her. Today, we struck a blow against the darkness. But our true victory was already won the moment humanity decided that the galaxy belongs to all of us, that we rise or fall together. As applause filled the hall, Nara looked out at the faces before her, human and Dominion alike, united in purpose. The path ahead would be difficult. The Void Armada would not be defeated easily, but for the first time since watching her homeworld burn, Princess Nara felt absolute certainty that they would prevail. Not because of superior technology or military might, but because of the quiet strength she had discovered in these humans, a people her civilization had dismissed as barely worth noticing. The species they had underestimated would be the salvation of them all.